In this video, we're going to be replacing the front driver's window regulator in this 2008 Acura MDX. We're going to take out this cover up top here. There is a little tab on the top that we can push down. And if you're able to push down and pry out with your small pocket screwdriver, great. Sometimes they want to be a little bit of a pain. So we're going to use a hook tool just to pull it forward. Open that handle and pull that cover out. Now if we follow this down, we'll see this gray trim running all the way across here. This is going to be the next piece we take out. We're going to use a plastic trim tool and we're going to get underneath the top edge here and just pry that up. And now we have clips going into the door. So what we'll do is put a little pressure on the door panel with our knee, holding the door out. We can grab a hold of this piece and pull our trim piece away from the door. And we can set that aside. All right, so now we can take out our top two screws up here. There's going to be Phillips screws. And if we follow this down, right here, there'll be one more screw, Phillips. And then if we continue to follow this down, just about underneath your switches, there'll be one more screw right here. Again, another Phillips. We've got our 4 screws out of our panel, and in this vehicle, our door panel around the perimeter is held in by push clips into the door. So what we're going to do is follow our bottom of our door panel around to the speaker area. And if you find inward in that area the back of the panel, you'll feel a little groove that you can get your fingertips and fingers behind. We're going to grab a hold of that. What I like to do at this point is put my knee against the bottom painted portion of the door and push the door open, while with my other hand pulling the door panel towards me. And I take my other hand and put it in this pocket. And what I'll do is, in a quick motion, pull the door panel towards me. Now it's free. All right, so at this point, our door panel is free from the clips that hold it into the door. We can wiggle it out a little bit, and we know it's free. We're being held in by this top panel. So to release this, we're going to grab it by the handle and the panel and lift straight up and back away from the door. From here, you can only pull your panel out so far because you still have all your electronics and cables to deal with. We're going to disconnect our mirror cable, which will give us just a little bit more freedom to move the panel. So what we have here is an electrical connection. We're just going to disconnect that. Now you can see we've gained a little bit more freedom inside this panel to work. First thing we're going to do is disconnect our lock and door handle opener here. I'm going to use a couple of tools to work in here. One's going to be a pick and a small flathead screwdriver. We'll try the pick first. What we're going to do is take this piece here and rotate it up. We have to get it out from underneath this clip. So we're going to use our hook tool, and we're going to work on this little area right here. We're going to get in between there, and we're going to push up and out of that clip area. Then we can take our pick tool and pry that clip up. Like so. This will come out. Now the end of this is held in here. Again, we're going to use our pick, get between the end and the clip, pop it open, and we can pop that out. The bottom one, a little bit easier. We're going to get in between the end, pop that open. We can take that out, and here, and just lift this straight up. Tip while you're working inside door panels and speakers. You can see how your pins here are pretty sharp, and you can see how we're very close to the speaker. It looks like somebody's already done this. You don't want to puncture your speaker as you're working with your clips. So be mindful of where those clips are and where your speaker is. We'll set ours like this so we're not puncturing the speaker, and then we'll have to replace the speaker while we're in here. If we start at the top and work our way down, we notice that everything comes into one harness. So we're going to disconnect just this one harness. Push that clip in. Pull it out. Now we can remove our door panel. So now we're going to take off this pad or insulation here. You'll notice we have two clips or plugs up and top. We'll take those out. Just use a panel tool and pop those out. And then you'll notice that this doesn't move because there is some adhesive along the back. In our case, this adhesive has been removed a couple of times and it's fairly old, so some of it's sticking to the vehicle and not the foam, which is fine. Just go ahead and remove this foam, which means running your hand down along here and removing that adhesive. When you come to your electrical, just go ahead and feed that through. And when you come up top here, go ahead and feed your cables through as well. And in the case of this harness, we'll just disconnect it, unplug that, and feed that through as well, and then replug it, reconnect it. So here we can just pull our padding off, pull our plug through, reconnect our plug, pull our cables through. You can set this aside. So at this point you want to put your ignition on, just 1 or 2 clicks forward, reconnect your door panel. So go ahead and plug that back in. And you want to raise your driver's window to the point where you can access these 2 bolts. These 2 bolts hold the glass onto the track, and we need these loose because once we do this, we're going to put the window all the way up and tape the window in place so it doesn't fall. With a 10mm socket, we'll go ahead and loosen these bolts up, take them out. Now from here, go ahead and raise your window all the way up. Now you can disconnect your door panel. All right, so here just to help our tape stick a little bit better, to hold our window up, we're just cleaning the glass and cleaning the trim a touch on the inside and outside. So now what we're gonna do is pull off some length of tape, and we're going to basically pinch our glass into position with the tape. Don't expect your tape to stick to any part of your gaskets. You'll be very lucky if you do, but you definitely want good adhesion on the glass inside and outside. All right, now our window is held in place. We can go ahead and start to remove our regulator. So the first thing we're going to do is remove this pin here, and it's going to be holding the electrical cable that goes to the motor. So we'll do this now. Just going to squeeze that clip in, push it through. Now when we're ready to move this assembly, this is already free. We're going to start by removing our 2 10mm bolts up top, and then we'll work our way down to this one and then the 2 on the bottom. All right, so we have one more bolt right here. That looks about right. Regulator is free. If we just wiggle it a little bit and pull downwards, we should be able to now turn our regulator and work it out of this opening to the point where we should now be able to unplug our motor. We're going to transfer this clip here over to our new piece. We're going to use a pair of pliers, needle nose pliers. We're going to use our panel clip here. Just squeeze the back closed and push it forward. Pop that out, and we can put this piece in our new assembly. We're going to take our clip that we're swapping over, and we're going to push it into place here. All right, now we're ready to install our new regulator. So the first thing we're going to do is connect our electrical harness here. Easiest to do while we have complete freedom to move this around. We're going to connect that plug. And what we can do is sit this in the vehicle. When we get just about done, we'll plug this back in here. But for now, we'll take advantage of all this cable. All right, so we'll take these out of the way. We'll drop our regulator in, rotate it into place. What we're going to look for are these two bolt holes here to line up in here. Thread in these two bolts by hand just to start, kind of hold our regulator in place. We'll just put our bolts back in one at a time, getting them a few threads in. All right, now that we have all of our bolts in place, we know we're pretty well lined up because everything matches. We can go ahead and snug these up. All right, now that we know our regulator is not going to move anywhere, we can plug in this clip, which will go down here. All right, now that you have your ignition in the on position, go ahead and connect the electrical in our door panel. Once that's connected, we're going to raise the mount for our window from down here up to meet our window by pressing up on the window switch. Once you can see that the two have met and your regulator has touched your window, you can go ahead and remove the tape. So now that your window has met the regulator, what you can do now is lower your window. You want to put a little downward pressure on the glass to make sure it goes down with the regulator. And you're going to get it to a point where you can get to these two bolt areas here. Then you can turn your ignition off. And again, disconnect your door panel. Now we can make sure that our window is in line here, and we can reinstall our two 10mm bolts that hold our glass to our regulator. Now from here, we'll reconnect our door panel, turn our ignition on and check the travel of our window and regulator, make sure everything works. All right, we're gonna reinstall our insulator here. What we're gonna do first is unplug our actuator motor, and we're gonna feed that wire right through the insulator. And then what we'll do is we'll take our 2 cables and feed that through also. And then we'll take our electrical connector, feed that through as well. With all of that done, take our 2 plugs in our top corners, pop those back into place. Plug in our actuator motor again. And then press back down whatever adhesive glue you still have on the back or the edges. And now we're ready to reinstall our door panel. We have 2 cables here. One's a gray plug, one's a white. We're going to connect the bottom white one first. We're going to sit that into this metal channel here and push straight down. Once that's in place, we can put the end of it into that hole, and we can spin the lock onto that and just press that in. Then we can get our top gray cable. What we're going to do is actually put the end in first and lock that in. And then we'll pull this back into place. So there are what looks like threads on the cable side and the receiving side on the plug here, or on the clip. Just sit that into place and squeeze this lock down and make sure this tab goes back under the metal bracket here. Now we can connect our power mirror connection. Just plug that in. And from this point, we're ready to reinstall or rehang our door panel. So to hang our door panel, we're just going to lift it above this lip here. And we're going to press it down into place. Make sure it's nice and level. And now we can put our clips back in. Okay, so now that we're hinged on the top of our door panel here, we're ready to reinstall our clips around the perimeter. What I like to do is just kind of push it in towards the door. You'll feel a lot of resistance if you're not lined up. If you are lined up, it'll feel like it just kind of wants to clip into place. That's how we feel here. So now we can just give it a couple of taps around the perimeter. And to double check that we are seated, I'll put one hand or a knee on the metal of the door and just pull away from the door with the door panel. And you'll tell right away if something isn't seated. In our case, everything looks pretty good. We're in. Now we can reinstall our 4 screws. You definitely don't need to over torque or over tighten these. You'll strip out the receiving end. So just snug them up. We can install our cover. There are 2 tabs on our cover that are going to need to go in downwards first. We'll put our cover into place, put the bottom tabs in, and then push in to clip into place. Our cover here just needs a little help with that lock to be seated up. And from here, we can reinstall our trim piece. Easiest thing to do with this trim piece is line up these tabs. And from there, you can start up here. Just give this a squeeze. Give this a squeeze. And then you can work your way across here. You're all done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.